Richard John Grieco Jr. was born on March 23, 1965, in Watertown, New York, into a family of Italian and Irish descent. He grew up in the small town of Dexter alongside his two sisters, Elizabeth and Laura, and his brother David. His parents, Richard Grieco Sr. and Carolyn Grieco, were hardworking individuals who instilled in their children a strong sense of discipline and the importance of pursuing stable careers. Despite their modest financial situation, the Grieco family maintained a close bond, valuing perseverance and hard work above all else. From a young age, Richard possessed a natural charisma that extended beyond his striking appearance. His confident demeanor and magnetic personality made him stand out even in a quiet, close-knit town where few people sought the spotlight. During his time at General Brown High School, Grieco displayed exceptional athletic talent, particularly in football. He played both as a center and a cornerback, demonstrating remarkable versatility and strength on the field. His natural leadership abilities and fearless nature earned him respect from his teammates and coaches alike, who saw great potential in him as a professional athlete. Grieco's dedication to the sport was evident in his relentless training and competitive spirit, and for a time he wholeheartedly believed that football would be his future. However, sports weren't his only passion. He also had a deep love for painting. Unlike his structured and disciplined approach to athletics, his artistic side was driven by raw emotion rather than technical precision. Art provided him with an outlet for self-expression, something that would remain a significant part of his life even as he transitioned into new endeavors. After high school, Grieco enrolled at Central Connecticut State University, where he continued to pursue football with dreams of going pro. His athletic career seemed promising until a devastating injury abruptly halted his plans. The setback left him at a crossroads, uncertain about his next steps. Without football, he felt lost, struggling to find a new direction for his future. It was during this uncertain period that an unexpected opportunity changed everything. While visiting New York, Grieco caught the attention of a talent scout from Elite Model Management. With his chiseled features, ideal height, and undeniable presence, he was quickly signed as a model, launching him into the world of high fashion. Success in modeling came swiftly. Grieco became the face of major luxury brands including Armani, Calvin Klein, and Chanel. His striking looks, combined with his intense gaze and rebellious energy, set him apart from the typical clean-cut male models of the time. He exuded a dangerous allure, a sense of mystery that drew people in. His unique presence made him highly sought after in the fashion industry, leading to high-profile advertising campaigns and magazine covers. Financially, modeling provided him with stability, fame, and opportunities that many could only dream of. Yet, despite the glamour and success, he found himself unfulfilled. Grieco never viewed fashion as his true calling. Instead, he saw it as a stepping stone to something greater, an entryway into the world of acting. Determined to pursue his true passion, he began taking acting classes at night while continuing his modeling career during the day. He auditioned for various roles in New York, eager to prove himself as more than just a handsome face. In 1985, he landed his first major acting opportunity with a role on the soap opera One Life to Live, playing Rick Gardner. Initially intended as a minor role, his performance impressed producers, leading to a recurring part through 1987. It was during this time that Grieco made a bold decision. He chose to leave modeling behind and commit himself fully to acting. It was a risky move, as transitioning from modeling to acting was not always successful for everyone, but he was determined to make it work. His gamble paid off, and within a few years, Grieco rose to become one of the most alluring and sought-after male stars of the 1980s. His smoldering looks, combined with his brooding on-screen presence, made him a fan favorite, particularly among young audiences. He had successfully transitioned from a small-town athlete to a Hollywood heartthrob. However, the path to stardom is rarely smooth, and his time at the top wouldn't last forever. Though he initially entered the fashion world by chance, Grieco quickly used it as a springboard to build his career. His unconventional modeling style and undeniable presence made him a standout in an industry that often favored a more polished and conventional look. He brought a rugged, rebellious charm that resonated with audiences, setting him apart from his contemporaries. Yet, despite the wealth and fame that modeling provided, Grieco remained restless. He knew that his physical appearance had opened doors for him, but he wanted to prove that he was more than just a pretty face. He longed for the challenge of acting, the ability to portray complex characters and tell meaningful stories. This hunger for something greater pushed him to take risks, abandon a stable and lucrative career in fashion, and pursue a more uncertain path in Hollywood. His journey was filled with highs and lows, triumphs and struggles. At one point, he was a direct rival to Johnny Depp, capturing the imagination of fans with his bad boy persona and smoldering intensity. Yet, despite his initial success, his career eventually took a downward turn. His projects began to fail. Rumors about his personal life spread, and his once bright star seemed to fade. Was Grieco a victim of the unforgiving nature of Hollywood, or did he play a role in his own downfall? The truth remains elusive, but his story is one of ambition, reinvention, and the relentless pursuit of artistic fulfillment. From a promising athlete to a celebrated model to a Hollywood leading man, his journey is a testament to the unpredictable nature of fame and the struggles that come with it. Though his time in the spotlight may have been brief compared to some of his peers, Grieco left an undeniable mark on the entertainment industry, and his story continues to intrigue those who remember the height of his stardom. Richard Grieco's entry into acting was met with skepticism. Many dismissed him as just another model trying to capitalize on his looks rather than genuine talent. However, he was determined to prove them wrong. He started taking acting classes in New York, attending auditions, and working tirelessly to develop his craft. His first real breakthrough came in 1985 when he landed the role of Rick Gardner on the daytime soap opera One Life to Live. While it was originally intended as a minor supporting role, Grieco's undeniable screen presence, natural acting ability, and charisma quickly won over viewers. His portrayal of Gardner stood out, and audiences responded so positively that the role was extended into a 2-year stint. It was clear that he had something special, a magnetism that went beyond his striking looks. Despite his success on the soap opera, Grieco faced an uphill battle trying to transition into mainstream television. He had no influential Hollywood connections or powerful backers pushing his career forward. What he did have, however, was an unrelenting drive to succeed. For a time, he struggled to find his next big opportunity. That changed in 1988 when he auditioned for 21 Jump Street, a rising television hit that had turned Johnny Depp into one of the hottest young stars in Hollywood. Grieco joined the cast in the 3rd season, stepping into the role of Detective Dennis Booker, a rebellious undercover cop with a devil-may-care attitude. The character was designed not to blend in but to shake things up. Booker was a stark contrast to Depp's more restrained and idealistic Tom Hansen. Clad in a leather jacket, ripped jeans, and a signature defiant smirk, Booker played by his own rules, often clashing with authority and bending the law to suit his instincts. From the moment he appeared on screen, Grieco commanded attention. His brooding presence and unpredictable nature made him an instant fan favorite. Within months, his popularity skyrocketed, leading to an unexpected phenomenon. The 21 Jump Street fan base split into 2 camps, Team Depp and Team Grieco. Fox capitalized on this newfound rivalry, using it as a marketing strategy to fuel the show's buzz. Teasers and promos were crafted to subtly highlight the tension between the 2 male leads, drawing viewers in with the promise of conflict. However, the rivalry wasn't entirely manufactured. Grieco later revealed that there was genuine friction between him and Depp behind the scenes. While Grieco was riding the wave of his newfound stardom, Depp had begun to resent the teen heartthrob label that 21 Jump Street had placed on him. The presence of another rising star in the cast, one whose rebellious bad boy persona threatened to overshadow his own, only added to his frustration. Despite the off-screen tensions, Grieco was no mere Depp clone. His portrayal of Booker was layered, giving the character a grittier, more unpredictable edge. He was the perfect foil to Hansen, and audiences couldn't get enough. Recognizing his immense potential, Fox took an unprecedented step. They greenlit an entire spin-off series centered around Dennis Booker. This was an incredibly rare move at the time. Few supporting characters were ever given their own shows, and even fewer managed to carry them successfully. Grieco's leap from ensemble member to leading man was a testament to both his popularity and his ability to hold his own on screen. In 1989, Booker premiered, following the character after he left the police force to become a private investigator for a major corporation. The series was a bold departure from 21 Jump Street. It embraced a darker, more noir-inspired style, shifting away from high school crime busting to cases that carried deeper psychological weight. Booker wasn't just an extension of its predecessor. It was an entirely different show with its own identity. Grieco maintained his magnetic presence, blending the rebellious, rule-breaking nature of Booker with a more mature and complex persona. The series held steady in the ratings, and Fox continued marketing Grieco as the next big television superstar. However, just as Booker was finding its footing, a behind-the-scenes power struggle derailed everything. The show's producer, Stephen J. Cannell, had also created 21 Jump Street and retained control over its international broadcasting rights. Fox, seeing the lucrative potential in Booker's global appeal, demanded full ownership of its distribution rights. Cannell refused. The standoff escalated until Fox made a drastic decision. They canceled both 21 Jump Street and Booker simultaneously. It wasn't about ratings or quality, it was a business move, and Grieco became collateral damage in the process. The cancellation blindsided him. In later interviews, he revealed that he had no idea about the network's decision until it was already final. There was no discussion, no opportunity to fight for the show's survival. One moment he was the lead of his own successful series. The next, he had nothing. It was a brutal introduction to the cutthroat nature of Hollywood. Just as quickly as he had risen, he was cast aside. But Grieco wasn't about to fade into obscurity. Less than a year later, in 1991, he made his big-screen debut with If Looks Could Kill, an action comedy that aimed to channel the spirit of James Bond for a younger audience. The film followed Grieco as a high school student mistaken for a secret agent and thrown into a world of espionage. It was a light-hearted, high-energy film designed to capitalize on his youthful appeal and established bad boy image. The role seemed tailor-made for him, blending action, humor, and his signature cocky charm. Despite high expectations, the movie received mixed reviews from critics, who found the plot formulaic and the humor inconsistent. However, it developed a cult following among fans, many of whom appreciated its campy, over-the-top style. At the box office, it performed modestly. Not a blockbuster hit, but not a total flop either. More importantly, it proved that Grieco could carry a film, holding his own as a leading man. It was a promising step forward, a sign that he could transition from television star to movie actor, but as he would soon discover, maintaining that momentum would be far more challenging than he ever expected. Richard Grieco's transition from television to film was his golden opportunity to prove he was more than just a TV star. He had the potential to carry a full-fledged Hollywood blockbuster. His first major film role came in If Looks Could Kill, 1991, an action comedy that cast him as Michael Corbin, a high school student who is mistakenly identified as a secret agent and thrown into a high-stakes international espionage mission. The film was packed with high-energy sequences, including elaborate car chases, high-tech spy gadgets, and plenty of moments designed to showcase Grieco's signature charm and undeniable screen presence. The premise was a fun blend of teenage adventure and James Bond-style intrigue, but despite its entertaining elements, the movie failed to live up to its blockbuster expectations. Critical reception was mixed. Some praised the film's lighthearted, an action-packed style, calling it an enjoyable, if not particularly deep, spy adventure. Others criticized it for being too simplistic, lacking the depth and sophistication needed to stand out in the action comedy genre. More significantly, audiences weren't yet ready to embrace Grieco as a top-tier action star. To many, he was still too closely associated with his 21 Jump Street persona. Dennis Booker and If Looks Could Kill wasn't strong enough to break that mold. Instead of establishing him as the next big Hollywood leading man, the film left him in an uncertain position, no longer just a TV actor, but not yet a true movie star. Determined to prove himself, Grieco took on a more ambitious project just a few months later with Mobsters, 1991, a crime drama featuring an ensemble of rising young actors, including Christian Slater, Patrick Dempsey, and Costas Mandylor. This film presented a more serious and demanding role for Grieco, who played the infamous gangster Bugsy Siegel. Unlike his previous characters, Siegel was a complex figure, charming, elegant, and intelligent, yet also ruthless and violent. This duality required Grieco to showcase a broader range of acting skills, balancing the sophisticated charisma of a man who could command a room with the cold-blooded instincts of a killer. The film was pitched as a youthful take on classic mob movies like The Godfather and Goodfellas, aiming to bring a fresh energy to the genre. However, despite the promising concept and a cast full of young Hollywood talent, Mobsters struggled to live up to the legacy of its predecessors. While it wasn't a complete failure, critics found it lacking the narrative depth and intensity needed to compete with the greats of the genre. Still, Grieco's performance stood out as one of the film's strongest elements. Many critics and viewers noted that he brought an undeniable presence to the role, proving that he wasn't just a pretty face. He had the ability to take on layered, dramatic characters. Despite this, Grieco's career in Hollywood began to lose momentum. He didn't land any major leading roles after Mobsters, and gradually the industry's spotlight started to drift away from him. Rather than clinging desperately to acting, he decided to explore another passion: music. In 1994, seeking a new creative outlet, Grieco formed the Dunmeyer Band and signed a recording contract with Edel Records in Germany. It was a bold move, as many still saw him primarily as an actor rather than a serious musician. A year later, in 1995, he released his debut album, Waiting for the Sky to Fall, hoping to reinvent himself as a recording artist. Unfortunately, the album failed to gain significant traction, while some of his loyal fans supported the endeavor. It wasn't enough to establish him in the music industry. The public still associated him more with his television and film work, and the transition from actor to musician proved to be far more difficult than anticipated. Undeterred, Grieco tried again in 2004, forming another band called Wasteland Park, hoping to finally break through in the music world. However, history repeated itself. The band received little recognition, had no major hits, and ultimately did not help Grieco escape the shadow of his acting past. After years of effort with little success in the music industry, Grieco eventually accepted that this wasn't the path that would redefine his career. He walked away from music and instead turned his focus toward another artistic pursuit: painting. Unlike acting in music, which required public validation and industry approval, painting offered him something different: complete creative freedom. Grieco had actually been painting since 1987 during the peak of his acting career, but for him, it was never about fame or recognition. It was a deeply personal escape, a way to express himself outside the pressures of Hollywood. His canvases became a refuge, a place where he could channel his emotions without judgment. In the midst of the relentless expectations placed on him as a celebrity, painting provided a sense of peace and control. However, for years he kept this passion largely to himself, unsure if he wanted to share it with the world. That changed in 2009 when Hollywood legend Dennis Hopper, who was also a respected painter, encouraged Grieco to publicly showcase his work. Hopper saw something in Grieco's art: raw emotion, authenticity, and a fearless approach to self-expression. With this newfound confidence, Grieco finally stepped forward as an artist, unveiling his paintings to the public. Unlike his previous attempts to reinvent himself through music, painting wasn't about proving anything to anyone. It was purely about creativity, emotion, and personal fulfillment. Through art, Grieco found a new sense of identity that wasn't tied to Hollywood's expectations. He was no longer just the actor from 21 Jump Street or the musician trying to carve out a name for himself. He was an artist in the truest sense, creating for the sake of creation, free from the limitations of fame. Hopper saw something special in Grieco's paintings and urged him to stop hiding his talent. According to Hopper, Grieco's art wasn't just a personal escape. It had the power to connect with others on an emotional level. He believed that the intensity and raw emotion in Grieco's work could resonate with people who experienced the world in a similar way. Despite this encouragement, it would take Grieco another decade to fully embrace his identity as an artist and share his work with the world. In 2013, he finally took the leap and debuted his paintings in a solo exhibition at Gallery Sparta in Hollywood. This was no ordinary art show. It carried a deeper meaning and a communal spirit, A portion of the proceeds from his paintings was donated to Wolf Connection, a rescue organization dedicated to protecting wolves and fueled by the fallen, which supports military and law enforcement personnel. Grieco wasn't just displaying his art, he was using it to make a real, positive impact on the world around him. His artistic style, which he calls abstract emotionalism, rejects traditional realism in favor of expressing raw emotion through colors, lines, and textures. Grieco doesn't paint with a clear meaning in mind. Instead, he allows each piece to speak differently to every viewer. One person might see loneliness in a piece, while another might feel joy, sadness, or rage. The beauty of his art lies in its openness. It doesn't dictate, it invites interpretation. Unlike the world of music or acting, where success is measured by box office sales or chart rankings, Grieco's paintings don't need mainstream validation. They aren't created for mass appeal. They exist for those who genuinely connect with them. And despite never aiming for commercial success, recognition came naturally. One of his earliest pieces sold for $10,900, an impressive figure for an artist not rooted in the traditional fine art world. His Gallery Sparta show even surprised some of his closest friends in the entertainment industry. Legendary singer Johnny Mathis, who knew Grieco primarily through their shared love of golf, admitted he had no idea about his artistic side. "I only knew him on the golf course. I never knew he had this whole emotional, artistic world inside him," Mathis remarked. Many who attended the exhibition were instantly drawn to the depth and intensity of Grieco's paintings, not just for their visual appeal, but for the sheer, unfiltered emotion they carried. Unlike some celebrity artists who create for the sake of selling, Grieco's approach remains deeply personal. He doesn't paint to sell, he paints because it is an intrinsic part of who he is. His works are not just objects to be purchased, but pieces of himself, shared only with those who truly connect with them. One of the unique aspects of his technique is his method of creating shapes beneath the canvas to produce distinctive textures, making his art more than just a two-dimensional image. His pieces become three-dimensional experiences, meant to be felt as much as they are seen. Grieco never stops experimenting and never stops creating because, to him, art isn't about reaching a final destination. It's about the journey of discovery. From modeling, acting, and music to painting, he has explored multiple creative paths, but in the end, it was art that brought him true peace. His career, much like his life, was filled with color, marked by both triumphs and setbacks, a reflection of the ever-changing nature of his artistic journey. Beyond his artistic pursuits, Grieco's personal life has been just as dynamic. He never married, but his love life was a whirlwind of passion, turbulence, and heartbreak. He had deep connections with several high-profile women, yet none of these relationships lasted long enough to anchor him. It all began in 1988 when he started dating Christina Applegate, the rising star of Married with Children. Their relationship lasted nearly 2 years before ending in late 1989. Soon after, he became involved with Kimber Sissons, a Canadian model and actress. Kimber would become one of the most significant relationships in his life, as their connection spanned nearly a decade, though it was filled with on-again, off-again periods. They first got together in 1989, around the time Grieco was making a name for himself with Booker. Despite their many breakups, they always found their way back to each other, even during Kimber's brief marriage to another man. While still involved with Kimber, Grieco had other romances. In 1993, he dated Katie Wagner, the daughter of actor Robert Wagner. The two made public appearances together, including attending the premiere of Sliver, and even lived together for a short time before eventually parting ways. That same year, while on a European press tour, he met French actress Adeline Blondiot. Their connection was immediate, and they spent much of their time traveling across France, immersing themselves in each other's worlds. Grieco even met her family, and for a while, it seemed as though their love story might endure. However, the long-distance nature of their relationship proved to be too difficult to sustain, and they eventually drifted apart. Between 1993 and 1994, Grieco became romantically involved with Star Trek, Deep Space Nine actress Terry Farrell. Their relationship was complex, marked by passion but also difficulties. Farrell was at the height of her career, and Grieco was in a transitional phase, searching for his next big opportunity. Though their time together was short-lived, their bond left a lasting impression on both of them. Throughout his life, Grieco's relationships followed a pattern: intense, passionate, but often fleeting. Whether due to career pressures, personal differences, or the difficulties of maintaining romance under the Hollywood spotlight, none of his relationships ever led to long-term commitment. Despite never settling down in the traditional sense, Grieco has remained a man deeply connected to emotion, whether in love, acting, music, or art. His journey has never been about following a conventional path, but about embracing the unpredictable, the passionate, and the deeply personal. His experiences, both the highs and the lows, have shaped the artist he is today. Terry Farrell wanted stability in her relationship with Richard Grieco, but he wasn't ready to settle down or consider marriage. Their time apart due to filming. Schedules only worsened tensions between them. Farrell became increasingly suspicious of his fidelity, though Grieco always insisted he had never been unfaithful. The constant strain eventually became too much, and in the end, he made the decision to walk away from the relationship for good. A few years later, in 1996, Grieco met Yasmin Bleeth on the set of Heaven or Vegas, and they quickly became inseparable. Their romance was passionate and intense, filled with emotional highs and lows. They dated from 1996 to 1997, then briefly separated before reuniting in 1998. However, their relationship was one of the most dramatic and turbulent of Grieco's life. Both were struggling with personal demons. Yasmin was battling drug addiction, while Grieco was consumed by alcohol. Their love for each other was undeniable, but their constant arguments and self-destructive behavior made their relationship toxic. In 1998, they became engaged and moved in together, hoping to build a future. However, by 2000, everything had fallen apart, and they separated permanently. Before reuniting with Yasmin in 1998, Grieco had a brief rekindling with Kimber Sissons, which led to the birth of their son Dylan Justice Sissons in May 1999. Initially, Grieco had doubts about whether he was the father, but after a DNA test confirmed his paternity, he stepped up and took responsibility. He provided financial support for Dylan, though in 2003 reports surfaced that he had fallen behind on child support payments for nearly a year. Kimber took legal action, and she intended to foreclose on Grieco's home to recover the debt. In response, Grieco quickly sold the property to settle what he owed and attempted to make amends by showering Dylan with Christmas gifts. Despite their long history together, Kimber and Grieco never rekindled their romantic relationship after their final breakup in 1998. In 2001, Grieco began dating Stephanie Nisnik, best known for her role in Everwood. Unlike many of his previous relationships, this one was kept largely out of the public eye. They were often seen attending charity events together, and for several years they seemed to have one of the most stable relationships of Grieco's life. However, in 2007 they quietly separated without any public explanation. Rumors in Germany suggested that the couple had secretly welcomed a daughter in 2003, but those closest to them denied the claims. In addition to his longer relationships, Grieco had several brief romances, including one with Lynette Walden, his co-star in Mobsters. They dated for a short period, even getting engaged, but ultimately parted ways. Despite his many high-profile relationships, Grieco never made it to the altar. Some speculated that he was never truly ready to be tied down, while others believed that his restless nature and a life filled with highs and lows simply didn't allow him to stay in one place for too long. As the 2000s progressed, he gradually faded from the spotlight, leaving many to wonder what had happened to the actor once considered Johnny Depp's biggest rival. Rumors swirled about his career decline. Some believed he had sabotaged himself through wild partying, excessive drinking, and reckless behavior. Others thought he had lost his passion for acting or had been pushed aside by Hollywood, which was always eager to find the next fresh face. Grieco never addressed the speculation, choosing instead to remain silent and let people make their own assumptions. Even though he was no longer at the peak of his fame, Grieco maintained financial stability. His estimated net worth of around $4 million came from various sources, including royalties from 21 Jump Street, Booker, and his other film and television projects. Additionally, his success as an artist helped sustain him as his paintings sold for impressive sums. While he never achieved long-term mainstream success in Hollywood, the mark he left on pop culture was undeniable. His portrayal of Dennis Booker in 21 Jump Street wasn't just another supporting role. It turned him into a late 80s bad boy icon and helped pave the way for future portrayals of rebellious cops on screen. The fact that Fox gave him his own spin-off series, Booker, was proof of his star power. While his film career didn't take off as some expected, If Looks Could Kill and Mobsters became cult favorites, especially among audiences who grew up in the 90s. Grieco also contributed to the growing trend of blending rock music with television, as 21 Jump Street and Booker featured popular contemporary tracks. Although his music career never fully took off, Grieco found lasting success in the art world. His unique style, which he calls abstract emotionalism, focuses on expressing raw emotion rather than concrete images. His paintings, often textured and three-dimensional, have earned him a distinct place in the contemporary art scene. More than just commercial pieces, they represent his personal journey and artistic evolution. His works not only sell for high prices but also challenge traditional artistic constraints, allowing viewers to interpret and connect with them in their own way. More than anything, Richard Grieco represents a generation of stars who refuse to conform to Hollywood's polished ideals. He carved his own path, embracing both the highs and lows of his journey. Whether he was in the spotlight or quietly creating art, he lived life on his own terms. Though he is no longer a household name in the entertainment industry, he remains active in the arts, continuing to paint and exhibit his work. He currently resides in Los Angeles, where he spends much of his time in his private studio, fully immersed in his creative process. Painting remains his greatest passion, and his exhibitions continue to attract collectors who appreciate his unconventional approach. His artwork allows him to sustain his career without relying on Hollywood or chasing after mainstream fame. In addition to painting, Grieco occasionally takes on smaller film projects, working as a producer and director in the independent film scene. He is also a regular presence at Comic-Con events, where he interacts with loyal fans of 21 Jump Street and Booker. To stay connected with his audience, he remains active on social media, particularly Instagram, where he shares his latest artwork, updates on his projects, and glimpses into his everyday life. While the golden era of his career has passed, he still possesses the same brooding charm and strong personality that made him famous. His current life is quieter and more stable, but remains deeply fulfilling. Richard Grieco was once a Hollywood heartthrob, but instead of desperately clinging to the spotlight, he chose to step away on his own terms. It wasn't a retreat due to failure, but rather a conscious decision to live a life free from the pressures of fame and other people's expectations. He never married, never chased after validation, and never tried to force his way back into the mainstream. Some might see this as a loss, but perhaps it was a different kind of success, a life lived with passion, creativity, and freedom. Without Hollywood controlling his every move, he no longer has to please anyone but himself. His journey raises an intriguing question. Is a life without marriage and fame a loss, or is it a triumph in its own right? In the end, Richard Grieco may have found something far more valuable than constant recognition, a life that is truly his own.